Okay, today's video is about parallelograms. So we're going to talk about the properties of a parallelogram and then how to use the properties of a parallelogram to find any missing measures on your parallelogram. So first, we're going to write down the properties of a parallelogram. So the first one is about the sides and the opposite sides. So first, the opposite sides are parallel because it's a parallelogram. And then opposite sides are also congruent. So I'm going to draw a picture to kind of show you. You can see when we mark parallel, we use our arrows. And for congruent, we're just going to use tick marks. So I'm just showing that opposite sides are parallel, opposite sides are congruent. The next property is about the angles. So the first property we're going to talk about is opposite angles. So I'm going to say that opposite angles are congruent. So that means that this angle is congruent to this one and this angle is congruent to this one. The next thing about the angles is that the consecutive angles are supplementary. Consecutive angles are supplementary. So what that means is when you have your parallelogram, consecutive is like this angle right here and this angle right here. So like angle 1 and angle 2. So I would say angle 1 plus angle 2 is equal to 180 because they are supplementary, so consecutive. You could also say this angle down here, I'm going to call it 3, and I'm going to say angle 1 plus angle 3 is equal to 180 because angle 2 and angle 3 are equal, so substitution. Diagonals. The next thing is about the diagonals. The diagonals bisect each other. So in the picture, your diagonals would bisect each other. So that means this one's being cut in half and this one's being cut in half. Okay, so that's our 5 properties about a parallelogram. We're now going to use those properties in our examples. So the first one says find the value of x and y and then explain the property you used. So in my picture, angle H and angle G both have x in their angle expression, and so that's where I'm going to have to start. So angle H and angle G, when they add together, those are consecutive, so they equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to take angle H, add it to angle G, set it equal to 180, and solve for x. So I have 2x plus 11 plus x minus 5 equals 180. So over here I get 3x plus 6, subtract 6, and I get 3x equals 174. So I'm going to divide by 3, and I get x equals 58. So x is equal to 58. So now I'm going to solve for y, and the relation that I have for y is angle F and angle H. So angle F is equal to angle H because they are opposite angles. So that means that 2y is equal to 2x plus 11, but I know what x is, so I can say 2y equals 2 times 58 plus 11. And 2 times 58 is 116. And 116 plus 111 is 127. Divide by 2. So y equals 63.5. So y is equal to 63.5, x is equal to 58. And then we could take that information and we could plug it in. So I could say for angle F, I could say 2 times 63.5, which is 127. So angle F would equal 127. And so would angle H, 127. And you can see that right here where we plugged in 58. 2 times 58 plus 11 is 127. And then for angle G, that's x minus 5, so 58 minus 5, which is 53. So angle G is 53 and angle D is 53. So it didn't ask us for all of these, but just to take it a step further and answer that question, you could plug it back in as well. All right, next two questions. I'm going to use my highlighter here. It says, find the value of x that will make the figures parallelograms. Explain what property you use. So in this picture, I just want to remind you that the opposite sides are parallel. So if these two sides are parallel, you have a nice transversal right here, which in that case will give us alternate interior angles. So x is equal to 77, and this is using alternate interior angles. The property from the parallelogram is that opposite sides are parallel. Okay, on the next problem, I'm going to use the property that opposite sides are congruent. Not opposite sides, opposite angles. Opposite angles are congruent, so I can say 3x plus 18 is equal to 4x minus 9 and solve. And when I do that, I get x is equal to 27. So that one was pretty easy. And for this last one, it looks like we're using diagonals. So you can see that the diagonals bisect each other. So these two are equal and these two are equal. So diagonals bisect each other. So that means I can say 2y minus 4 is equal to 16, and I can say 2x plus 6 is equal to 40, and solve each of those. So I get 2y equals 20, divide by 2, y equals 10. And then I can subtract 6, divide by 2, and I get x is equal to 17.